Welcome to Collaborate, the podcast that's reshaping real estate success. Whether you're a new agent striving for your first big win or a seasoned producer ready to break into the top 1%, Collaborate is your gateway to elite strategies, global networks, and industry-changing insights. Each episode delivers actionable advice straight from the top 1% of real estate professionals worldwide. This is where you learn the tools, tactics, and high-level techniques you need to scale your business and unlock financial freedom. Don't just survive, thrive. I'm your host, Trevor Bigg, three-time Icon Award winner with over $100 million in sales volume as a solo agent. And if you haven't been invited to the show yet, get your numbers up because this is a space reserved for the elite. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Collaborate. This is the premier podcast for ambitious agents committed to scaling their business. I'm your host, Trevor Bigg, and for those listening in today, prepare to take notes as we dive into topics like career longevity, team building, evolving marketing strategies, and handling competitive markets. We're joined by Rockstar agent today, Dave Kimbrough. This guy's an absolute legend in the world of real estate. He's been in the game over 20 years and runs a team that currently sits among the RE/MAX top 100 worldwide. Now, to put that into perspective, RE/MAX currently has around 150,000 agents across 110 countries and territories. So to be among the top 100 globally is something pretty spectacular. Dave, thanks so much for joining us today, man.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Happy to be here.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. Dave, if you don't mind, give us and our audience a brief intro to who you are, where you're from, and how you got started.
Well, so I live in Grand Junction, Colorado. It's a little town of about 150,000 people on the western slope of Colorado, the forgotten side of Colorado, unless you're a hunter or a mountain biker.
Yeah, for sure.
And so we lie about 4 hours due west of Denver. I've been in the business. I think this will be next June will be finish off my 23rd year in the business. And, I kind of fell into the business, to be honest with you. Back in 2001, my first wife passed away from brain cancer. And I was at the time I was working in the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah.
And I was going to move back to the South. I went to the University of Alabama, Roll Tide. And, so I was planning on moving back to the South, moving out of the West. And the guy who I hired to sell my house for me said, you should really try real estate. And I thought, well, that's like maybe the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because I had a really great job and great bonuses and a good career path. And, I thought about it and prayed about it and just got peaceful with it. And I thought, I'll give it a whirl, and absolutely changed my life. That decision changed my life.
Well, your life took some serious changes, marital side one, but going from pharmaceuticals to real estate is two very different things. They don't really connect at all. So the fact that you were able to be so successful in real estate with no your previous experience is pharmaceuticals. So literally nothing to do with real estate. Well,
it had nothing to do with real estate. But the amazing thing about it is when you're in one industry, the grass is always greener, right? Yep. So when I'm in the pharmaceutical industry, I'm like, I got tired of all the training. I got tired of all the things that they made us do, all of these things, but it was very high level sales training, right?
Yes.
So what I didn't realize then was that it was very high level sales training. And not until I got out of that industry and into another industry, I realized that was a very fertile learning ground for how to sell. So when I got into real estate, really the transition, it wasn't easy, right, by any stretch of the imagination, but the sales skill set had been implanted by my previous career.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. You talk to anybody who went from one career to real estate, and they sound like polar opposites, but you actually talk to them and they found so many correlations that actually they were able to bring this into their real estate business, and that's how things really took off. I talked to one guy, he was an underwater welder before real estate, and you try to correlate those to it, and good luck. But he took a lot of things where the work ethic that went into it, the skill set that he had to have, he found a lot of little ways to sprinkle that into his real estate career and took off.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And ultimately, it's just about being able to relate to people, right?
For sure. I came from, I was diamond drilling before this up in Hyder, Alaska. And so I did that for 3 years. And I'm in a one man, me and one other guy were in a hut on the side of the mountain for 30 days at a time, drilling a hole into the rock. So, try to correlate that to real estate. But what I was able to do is I took that work ethic, right? I was working 12-hour days, 14-hour days, 30 days straight every time. I'd get 1 week off and then I'd hit it again for 30 days straight. I took that same work ethic and put it into my real estate career. And you can't outwork me. It's just, I'll put in more hours and I won't get tired. And that's what I was able to bring out of that.
Yeah, same thing, right? So when I made my switch to the real estate industry, I was 32 And so starting a completely new career, right? From a pretty successful career.
Yep.
And I really didn't have time to not waste. I didn't have time to do it the conventional real estate way, right? By, friends and family and sphere of influence and all that stuff, right? That takes years to cultivate that, right?
For sure.
I didn't have years, right? So my deal was,
you're going all in.
I had to go all in, and it was going for broke, right? From day go. So it was one of those things, and I got hooked on with the Craig Proctor system. I don't know if you're familiar with Craig Proctor. You might be too young. You're too young for Craig Proctor, bro. Craig Proctor was a real estate marketing pioneer, right? I mean, he really was. It was your home sold guaranteed, or I'll buy it for cash. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's Craig Proctor. He's out of Toronto, Canada.
Interesting.
And so I read one of his ads one day, and I thought, God, that sounds pretty interesting. And that also changed my career.
For sure.
Changed my career.
I grew up in more of the Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry stages of real estate.
Yeah, which is a lot of sphere of influence stuff, right? I mean,
big time.
It's past customers, right? All of that. Well, Craig's system was, for him, and I mean, I'm paraphrasing, right? But his deal was, I can find new people quicker, right, than I can cultivate friends, family, and sphere of influence, right? So that was kind of his, and I'll tell you what, it was crazy. It's crazy. My first year I did 25 deals. My second year I did 40 to 50 deals. The next year I did almost 80 deals, and we look back after that, and it just took off like a rocket shot.
Yeah, well, if you want to put that in perspective, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot more strangers than friends out there, and so get strangers.
Yep. It kind of was. Yeah. So.
All right, Dave, well, you've been in the real estate game for over 20 years now. You've built a top performing team. What would you say is the secret behind your sustained success?
We're genuine with people, right?
Big one.
What you see is what you get. There's no pretense, right? It's like I told you before we came on air. Don't ask the question if you don't want to. It's still the same with every client today.
And it's true, especially people try to hide behind Facebook and Instagram and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, real recognizes real. And people can sniff a fake a mile away. People
yearn for real, bro.
Yeah.
They want real. They seek real. Even if they don't know it, they appreciate real, right? And it also establishes you on a different level, right? They know they're not going to get what they want to hear. They know they're going to get what they need to hear. They may not like it. They may disagree with it, but they know exactly what they're going to get.
Well, for sure. It's like I heard that analogy the other day where when somebody asks you what you thought about a movie, you immediately think to answer how they want answered. So you think, oh, the movie was great. It was popcorn, it had Skittles, it was fantastic. But they don't actually want to hear that. What they want to hear is what you actually thought about the movie. So the right answer is actually telling them what they don't want to hear. And it's kind of, flipping the script of just exactly like you said, being authentic, because that's been the number one lead generator that I've seen so far is authenticity.
Yeah. Well, and really, I think for me, what I found over the years is one of the key things for me is you got to ask for permission, right? So I always ask for permission. When they ask a question, I'll say, hey, do you want the real answer? Right?
Yeah.
And if nobody says no, right? Nope. Who says no? I want a fake answer.
Nobody says no, please lie. Yeah.
Yeah, please lie to me, right? Then I could go into politics, right? But
exactly.
It's like, hey, here's what and then you don't have to ask for permission again, right? They've given it to you and you're good to roll. And it differentiates the relationship right from the jump.
Can you pinpoint any pivotal moments or decisions that shaped your journey?
No, dude, I've made more mistakes than I care to count,
Yeah.
But if there's anything pivotal, and I think we always try to take whatever the mistakes are because we make them every day, and we try not to repeat them, right? I mean, we're big on systems. I guess if I had to say pivotal, the pivotal was hiring, as we talked about before we came on air, I hired my sister as my first assistant, right? And the beautiful thing is that we've been best friends since I was 5. She's been my best friend.
How long was she your assistant for?
Maybe 3 years.
Yeah.
So we've had a great relationship for a very long time, and she's still my closest friend outside of my wife. I've been remarried, obviously, and whatever, but I think that was it, because what happens is my background is marketing. I get big picture things. I see big picture. She's an occupational therapist by trade, so what she sees is processes, and so her skill set is process. So I can have a vision, and she can set the process in place to achieve the vision.
Well, that's about as good as it gets.
because it's not my strength, right? But she's not a big picture person.
Yeah.
So it's really this marriage of two people with two completely different skill sets that are headed in the same direction. And it's an amazing compliment. It's been a huge blessing.
You're more of a build the plane as it's flying kind of deal where she needs to know everything about the takeoff.
100%. 100%. Yeah. I can see where I want it to go. I get lost in the minutia of how to get it there. She cannot see
don't
where
sweat the small stuff kind of scenario.
Yeah, that's me. And she's the, you know what, I can see where you're going now. Here's how we're going to get there.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's been beautiful.
You touched on marketing a little bit, how your Golden Globe there is marketing. I'm sure that you've seen real estate marketing change pretty significantly over the years. How has your approach evolved and what cutting edge strategies do you use today?
It's a hard one, right? Because for me, early on in my career, had a great grasp and an understanding. So I graduated from college in 1992, right? So I'm going to age myself a little bit here. I had a really good understanding of traditional media and traditional marketing techniques, right? Okay. And those traditional marketing techniques in the early 2000s, they were money, man. They were money. Sure. I knew how to use radio, TV, you name it, right? Newspaper. We could leverage those marketing techniques or those marketing avenues or outlets to our advantage hugely because nobody else in my market was doing it, right? Yeah. But as the years have gone by, and again, it's been a very difficult thing for me just because it's become so splintered, right? So when I first started in the business, there was no internet, there was no MLSs, it was all in books, right? You don't remember
big book of active listings. Yeah, that's right.
We get it every week or whatever. So, we've had to evolve on a consistent basis to really. And we could always do better, right? We're always searching for what is it we're not doing a good job of. It's not about what we're doing a good job of. We know those things. It's where's the holes, right? What are the weaknesses and how do we address those weaknesses? And so part of what I talked about earlier with the Craig Proctor system, it was so easy to garner new clients, right? That we really failed to take care of our past customers, right? Yeah. When you're doing 100, 200, 300 deals a year, right? You're leaving a lot of sales in your wake because you don't take care of your past customer, right? Mm-hmm. You're just churning the now. And so we've really had to evolve to take care, not only continue to seek those new clients, but also really foster and care for our past clients in a better way.
Yeah, I think that's a huge takeaway. I myself am going through a bit of a transition where I've spent years so hyper focused on marketing. I think my competitive advantage now moving forward is going to be what I like to call unreasonable hospitality, where I want to be focused more on the experience now rather than just bringing you in. Once I get you in, you're going to have the most memorable real estate experience that you can ever imagine. And then that's how you're going to retain clients.
It's absolutely. But you know what we found is easier said than done, right? I mean, when you're doing, you're doing 100, 200, 300 deals a year, 360 deals 1 year, it's hard to maintain touch, right? Yeah. It's a very hard thing to maintain the touch. And for sure. So that's the balance thing, right? We're always seeking how to maintain that touch now, and it changes. It evolves.
Is there a specific trend or tool that you use to maintain that touch or that you're focusing on right now that helps you maintain that touch?
We use a lot of the same things that I'm sure all the other agents use, right? We do monthly flyers. We've started doing in the past year, we started doing monthly giveaways, right? To our clientele bases where people register to win whatever it is, concert tickets or, ski passes or whatever. We do quarterly giveaways where we partner with a local business and so you can go to a local bagel shop and pick up a dozen bagels for free. We partner with them. They cover the costs. We send it out. They get new customers and clients. When we get all those things back, we make sure to touch all of those people who turned in the coupon, right, and went and picked them up. So, we're just trying anything we can that customers that haven't bought with us in the last 2 years, they may have been 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. We usually go back 7 years. And so, again, I haven't found any magic bullet, right? I mean, it's just, we're continuing to chip away at the stone. I've got a marketing director. Her name's Chelsea. She's a full-time marketing manager for our team. And so her sole and only job is to reach out and try to maintain and take care of the past customers that we have.
For sure. I liked how you brought up the inter-city collaborating with other businesses in town to kind of spread that word. I think that's huge. Not only does it kind of get you in the community, but it also puts you as a community expert, whereas the hot spots to get, a slice of pizza or a coffee or a donut. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, we really found it had to be something of value too, right? Like
Yep.
it's got to be something worth going. It can't just be like one Jimmy John sandwich. They ain't gonna cut it, right?
No,
They're
no,
not
for
coming,
sure.
right? So you got to find out what that threshold is, or where that place is that they will go for that stuff. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
No, totally agree.
Yeah, it's just a constant evolution.
I see, because we've got you walk down the street, go to your mailbox, there's all the boxes there, you pick up your mail. And then there's also a big recycling bin right beside that mailbox. And too often do I see realtors in town send out postcards with no value behind it. You know what I mean? Just a postcard. Hey, I'm a realtor. And you just see thousands of dollars of those postcards just sitting in the recycling bin right beside the mailbox. Never even got to the house, right? And so I pulled a little bit, of a note out of your book where same deal. You start kind of giving people value, or here's a coupon to a local charcuterie shop and they'll put together a board for you, or here's a coupon, or just a little something that gets people in the community, that shows that you're in the community, and it delivers value, because if you just give them a piece of paper with your name on it, it's probably going to end up in the recycling.
Yeah, yeah, we've done it. I'm guilty, you know.
How does digital marketing and social media fit into your strategy? Are there platforms that have proven especially effective for your team?
I would say that, just being again honest, right?
Yeah.
I'd say we do a very less the job that we currently do, and Chelsea would, I think, agree with it, isn't good enough, right? I mean, the hard part about it is on Instagram, I'm not a superstar. I'm not funny. I'm not like some super handsome guy. I don't have any of the characteristics of anybody who's going to go viral for nothing. So the hard part about it is, what can you do on those things that actually engage people, right? So our deal has always been, how do we engage? And that's a struggle for us, right? And that's one that is, if you called her right now, she'd tell you that's one of our struggles, is how do we use social media, whether it be Facebook, Instagram. We're starting to do some TikTok, which just kills me, right? Because I'm 55, right?
Yeah.
But what is it, not to just have your name out there, not to just have just listed or just sold or whatever it may be, but something that actually engages people to follow.
Yep.
And I think that really is the hardest part for us overall on any of the social media platforms.
We've trial and errored so many times, and we've tested so many different posts, and we've gone on, Etsy templates and Canva templates and turned this into a video or add music here. At the end of the day, no matter how fancy you make your just sold or just listed or however you do it, you're not going to get the same engagement as something personal. What I found, the top 4 things that get the most amount of engagement is food, pets, kids, and bloopers.
Oh, that's good.
Those 4 things I've seen get the highest amount of click. You share a nice place to eat or food that you're having, something about your pet, dog, cat, whatever, something about your kids, and behind the scenes bloopers. People love those 4 things.
Yeah. I mean, I have absolutely no doubt. The hard part about it for us is, like, I don't do social media personally at all.
Yeah.
None. So in order to do that stuff, and that's one of our challenges is, how do you do that stuff effectively and not be ruled by it, right? Because I'm not going to be on social media all the time responding and doing those things on a consistent basis. That's a tough one for me, right?
Well, I totally understand. It's hard to be authentic on social media when social media is not necessarily the authentic you. It's not like a thing that you do all the time. It's a thing that you have to implement because, well, if other agents are doing it, you've got to keep up. But at the same time, it's hard to announce that genuinity when Facebook or Instagram is not necessarily the genuine thing that you'd like to be connecting people with.
Yeah. So it's a struggle. I mean, we can do better. That's one of the things every year. I swear, we're coming up on 2025, and again, it'll be another focused year for that, right?
Yeah.
But what are we going to focus on this year? We're going to engaging better on social media. I mean, it's a constant thing for us.
At least maybe the TikTok ban will wipe some of that stress off your plate.
I'm not holding my breath, buddy. Yeah.
Let's chat a little bit about navigating competitive markets. I don't know the exact number because they're not out yet, but I can see that home sales within the Grand Junction, Colorado area have almost doubled year over year. When working with sellers in competitive markets, so you've got a seller, he says that his house is worth 500, you say it's worth 450. They really want to try to get that 5. How do you position their property to attract the best offers? What are some tips, some tricks? What are you telling your sellers? How are you positioning that property in such a way that you're trying to guarantee it gets the best possible outcome?
Well, the biggest thing for us on this, again, this is, I may be oversimplistic, right, in the way I look at real estate, but I think that most clients or most buyers shop online, right? They shop by themselves, right? The days of real estate agents finding houses for people and sending them a list of, hey, I found you these great 8 houses. They already know those 8 houses.
Something you've never seen before. Yeah.
not going to happen, right? So we do a lot of off-market stuff. That is one of the things we try to
Cool.
concentrate on, to try to do off-market. Like, we'll know a lot of times something coming long before it comes on. So a
Yeah.
lot of times our clients will be able to do it. You can always help ensure the highest value with that, because you can generally stretch the price a bit if it's
Yeah.
not on the market and people don't have to compete, right? So,
So are you talking about attacking FSBOs, or are you talking about attacking
oh,
off-market sale?
just houses that we know that are coming on the market that we've got in our pipeline, right? So like for
And you're
next
getting a
spring,
jump on it.
I've already got like 20 houses that are going to come on March, April,
Yep.
already, and it's November, right?
For
So
sure.
a lot of those, my buyer's agents, we can put a price on that. We can be a little bit more aggressive on that pricing, and people will oftentimes not balk at the pricing because they don't have to compete, right? So they're getting a sneak peek at it before somebody comes on. So we do a lot of that kind of stuff.
For sure.
But I think the biggest thing for us is just making sure that online it shows as good as it can. And I mean, that's virtual tours, and that's good professional photography. It's good drone photography, all those things, because I think today's buyer, they shop online, they shop through pictures. If the pictures suck, they're gone, right?
Well, we're dealing with a very small attention span nowadays, where buyers used to dive. They want to know all the details. They want to know the plumbing, the furnace, the this and that. Now you're in a market where a buyer is going to judge whether they're going to buy the house or not within the first 3 photos.
100%, right? So we want to make sure that stuff is accurate, or as good as it can be, right?
Yep.
We want to show as good as it possibly can. And one of the things is too is, we go into it with everybody. Like, here's my price. You want 500? I got it to 450. That's fine. We can try it. I've been wrong before. I might be wrong again, right? I'm totally great being wrong if you win, right? So we do a lot of different things. Sometimes if we disagree, and I'll say, you know what, let's try your higher price, and I'll tell you what we'll also do. I won't charge you any commission on that above 450. If you're right, you really win. But we got to have a game plan in place to bring your price down. What does that look like, right? If they will not agree to a game plan in place prior to list to get the price down if it needs to come down, then a lot of times we won't even take it, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So, there's a lot of ways to get to that. And it's hard sometimes because people don't want to hear maybe their house isn't worth it. But I'm not going to be the agent who just says, sure, let's try it, and then spend on 90 days waiting at 500. And now it's stale and it's dead, and we're going to have a real problem, right? So,
for sure. I've seen it time and time again where you see a seller list at, 649, and then they hold strong to their price, and then they reduce all the way down to 575. And at that point, you got to tell them, had we had hit the market at 575, there would have been multiple offers in place, and you would have been flying off the shelves. So you beat yourself down in price to now have a stale listing.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people got to try, right? They got to try. Right. And if you're like me, I'm wrong a lot, right? On a $700,000 house, I can't tell you within 10 grand what the market's going to do, what that buyer's going to do. I think I know, right? I think I know.
Yeah. An educated guess.
An educated guess, right? But the question that I always ask them is, let's put it on the market at 700 grand or 500 grand or whatever that number will be. Yep. What will it look like to you when you know that that's not the right price?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Perfect. Right. What does it look like?
Exactly. Having the talk of expectations before we're okay, sure, well, let's hit the market at 700. But just so you know, all the houses at 700 are taking, upwards of 30, 40 days to sell. And these houses at 700 have granite countertops, and they've got 3 bathrooms, or you've got 2, and they've got this. And so let's hit the market at 700. And if you're right, fantastic. But if you're not, then we've got to have a game plan in place that puts our price back into a marketable position.
Yeah, and then a lot of times what they'll do is they'll say, I don't know what that's going to look like. Okay, well, is it, 2 showings in 14 days? Is it 10 showings in 14 days? Is it no offers in 2 weeks? So then they create the criteria for the price reduction.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a non-issue. I don't have to go beat them up. I'm not a beater upper, right? And I tell them, I'm not going to come and kick your ass, for a price reduction. It's just not my style, right?
For sure.
We're going to have a conversation up front. Here's how this is going to work. What's this going to look like to you? Because then it makes my life much easier, right? I don't have to dread the conversation of beating Bill down on his price. I just call him up in 2 weeks, say, Bill, 2 weeks, we've had 3 showings. I think it's time. Yep, it's time.
Well, because you both discussed that was the threshold. I think that's brilliant.
Yep. So, I do a lot of that kind of stuff. We actually, expectations, you said it. We're launching a new coaching program called Expectation Selling.
Yeah.
After the first of the year. And it is all about setting expectations, because what I find is that people are scared to have the conversations, or don't want to take the time to have the conversations to set the expectation up front. And if you set the expectation up front, regardless of what the point of the sale is, the reduction in headache, chaos, and fire putting out is unbelievable.
Is that coaching for buyers and sellers, or coaching for agents?
It's coaching for agents.
Interesting. Okay. I want to bring that up at the end here. I think that's a really strong tool. I think that you're exactly right. That lots of people are afraid to have those hard conversations, whereas 9 times out of 10, the success that you're looking for is right at the other side of that hard conversation.
Well, it's right at the end of the hard conversation, and it's right at the end of what you already know. You just don't want to tell them.
Yep.
Right? You already know what's coming. I already know every hurdle. Right?
Yeah.
I just got to set them up for it, because once they know it, I mean, people will eat whatever they have to eat if they know it's coming. It's when they don't know it's coming that you get people that will be stubborn and will not eat. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a crazy, I've been doing it for 20 years, and I can tell you, we sell hundreds and hundreds of homes. I coach football. I never miss a practice. I never miss dinner at home. I don't miss these things. And a lot of it is just setting expectations, and so few people set expectations.
Any advice on common mistakes sellers make when listing in such markets, competitive markets?
Yeah, probably the most simple one is they choose somebody based on how much they're going to pay to sell rather than how much expertise they're going to bring to the game.
Ooh,
right?
No, that's a big one. Absolutely.
It's a huge thing. I mean, it's kind of like, okay, I run a radio commercial, right? And the thing is, I'm going to have a knee replacement, right?
Yep.
Am I going to go to the guy who does 4 a year? Or am I going to go to the guy who does 9 a day? Right?
For
It's
sure.
my knee, right? I mean, I'm going to the best guy.
Yep.
Why do we treat the biggest financial investment in your portfolio most of the time? Why do you treat it like it's not? Right.
And I think that's such an important topic, because you see so many people, like you said, this is for most people the biggest transaction they will ever make in their entire lives. And 9 times out of 10, they've never taken the time to interview agents. Interviewing agents is almost a thing of the past, where they've never taken the time to actually sit down with 4 or 5 or 3 agents and see what they all bring to the table. 9 times out of 10, they're picking the agent that their parents used, or they're picking the agent that they've seen. It's a very low qualification to be the agent picked nowadays. Whereas, exactly like you said, if I was having some serious work done, I would do my due diligence and make sure that I'm picking the guy who can do it with his eyes closed.
1,000%. Why they do it, why people do that, I've never understood it, but they still do it, right? You try to educate, you try to do the things, and they're like, no, my friend's uncle is a framer, and he also does real estate, so he's going to do it for me because I trust my friend.
He sold a couple houses in 2005.
Yeah, you're killing me. You're killing me right now. Right?
Yeah.
So, but I get it, and it's people, and they got to, our deal is always you choose the person that's right for you. I mean, that's it.
Right? Well, and that kind of highlights the point that you brought up before, where if you want to try to weasel your way into these relationships that, if they're picking the agent that their parents use or something, or they're picking their friend's cousin, if you're trying to weasel your way into these relationships, you've got to be authentic. You've got to learn how to connect with people in an authentic way, because that's why they're going with them, is because there's already a preconceived relationship there. Whereas you need to kind of find a way to build that relationship with people in a very short amount of time.
It's an interesting thing too, because being the market leader, we've been number one in our market for a very long time, right? I get a lot of people who call me and say, hey, would you come out, take a look at my house, do this stuff, blah, blah, blah. One of the questions I always ask them is, have you already made up your mind on an agent?
For sure.
They'll be like, well, no, why? I said, because a lot of people will call me. They want me to come out and tell them what I know. They're going to want me to come out and give you a price. They're going to want me to do all this stuff, and they're going to hire Jenny, their friend.
Yep.
And they're just using me for the information. So if you're going to do that, let's just save everybody a bunch of hassle. And immediately they're always like, no, I'm not going to do it. But occasionally I do get those people say, well, yeah, my mom's friend is, from her Bible study is a real estate agent. I'm like, okay, cool. That's all good.
Yep.
Use them. It's good. But it's an amazing thing, because you set the precedent that you're the expert. Now they know it. And now they're still wanting you to come out. It's a different level of interview.
For sure. Absolutely.
Right. The expectation now is they're going to hire me.
Yep.
So it works great.
Again, setting expectations.
Yeah. Around,
Well, I've got a few minutes here. I know that you've got some experience in real estate investing. I wanted to touch on that a little bit, because I think that's another big one where a lot of agents, it's that time of year where they're thinking, well, let's buy a residual income property, or let's invest in. And again, you start to get the sweaty palms where you sell houses all day, every day. You do 200 deals, let's say, but then you go to buy your own investment property, and all of a sudden, all the knowledge you have is out the door, and your palms are sweaty and you're freaking out. With 20 years of experience, how has your approach to real estate investing changed over time?
It's probably gotten more calculated, right? I take a very calculated approach. We own property. I don't flip property. Anything I buy to hold, right? Yep. Very calculated on where I buy it, what it is, and has very strict criteria. I don't bend my criteria to meet the property. The property's got to bend to meet my criteria. Right?
What does that criteria look like?
It'll just be location. It'll be age. It'll be, who's my tenant? What's that going to look like? Does it have a big yard? Does it have a big lot? I've passed up on tons of stuff that I probably could have made a ton of money on, but it didn't meet my criteria. And so once I have the criteria set, the market either meets the criteria or it doesn't. It's kind of like a bad lender, right? You check the boxes. If they don't check the boxes, I don't buy a property because I love it and it has a huge yard that in 2 years is going to be torn up by somebody and I got to redo, right? So I would just say, find out what it is you like. I like student housing. I mean, I do great with, I got 20-year-old twins, both go to college. I love kids that age. We do great with them. My wife does great with them. So we love that. We like single family stuff too, but we really like college housing. So we have very strict criteria on where we buy, what it looks like.
For someone new to investing, what advice would you give to get them started in today's market?
Just invest.
Just do it. Just get in there.
Right? Yeah. Get your first one, right? I mean, it's just like anything. The first one's scary, right? It's very scary. But if you do it, and I've got formula for what's the cap rate got to be, what's the return based on how much I've got to put down versus how much I'm going to mortgage, there's things I look at and I say, okay, this fits the mold. But once you do it and you start to develop your criteria, just continue to do it. And the other thing is too, don't just buy one, right? I mean, don't overstretch ever, but it's a continual thing. I think real estate, and I sound old now, right? So you're old, man, but it's a long game. Right?
Yeah.
I'm in it for a long game, not short game. I don't flip. I don't buy stuff, sell it 2 years later unless I hate it. And then I might, but it's a long game program. So I'm looking at something, am I going to be able to hold this for the next 20 years and how big of a pain in the ass is it going to be?
Do you focus more on single family residential or do you more multifamily?
You know what? I like single family or duplex stuff. I've had some stuff that's like 4plexes, 6plexes, 8plexes, but the problem is that spreads your risk, right? But also if you end up with a bunch of them that need to be rented at the same time, then you end up competing, right? And so, I tend to stick to duplexes up to a 4plex or single family.
Yeah, that's what we see the highest level of maybe ROI in where I'm from anyways too, is if you find a single family with a nice basement suite or nice duplexes, they generally have no problem renting out. You've got a decent rental market in that area where you're renting to a nice caliber of renters. It's usually the safer bet is what I've seen. I
totally agree. Yep.
Are there any specific property types or strategies that you see as safe bets for new investors?
Yeah, I would think anything entry level, right? I mean, anything on the lower end spectrum. A lot of people do VRBO. My sister does tons of VRBO. She's very successful with them. She does great with them, but she spends a ton of time on them, right?
Yeah.
That's just something my time's too important. I'm not willing to give it up for money. I'll make money doing something else.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
For me. So I want more passive. So I think entry level stuff is the way, because honestly, I don't believe the world's going to get less expensive, right? I don't believe anything is going to get significantly cheaper. They've already proven we'll buy stuff and build stuff at the prices that they are.
Yeah.
They're not going to start retreating, right?
Yeah.
So it might go down a little bit, but long term, buy, hold, get in the game, stay in the game. And, every couple of years, pick up another one, because when you're my age, you'll be really glad you did.
For sure. You talk to anybody, and the best time to buy real estate is always 5 years ago.
Yep, absolutely. Oh, yeah, man. I look back and I'm like, dude, pre-COVID, I should have bought tons of stuff. So anyway, yeah, hindsight's always the 20/20. That's the cardinal rule. But yeah, I would just say I should have started. I say I should have started earlier. I didn't have any money early, right? I was pouring it all back in my business and my family and all the stuff. But, now it's just like we're always looking for the opportunity. So,
for sure. Okay. Well, Dave, we're just getting to the end here, man. I always like to end these podcasts with a bit of a loaded question. What is one of the most impactful pieces of advice you've received in your real estate career so far? And there's a lot.
The most impactful things, I used to do a lot of coaching, right?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yourself?
No. Being coached, right?
Okay.
Coaches,
important.
Proctor, Corcoran, Howard Brenton, Star Power, whatever, right? All
Good,
these Feeney classes, whatever stuff.
Yeah.
I had a coach one time tell me, the most important things to me are always not when people give me advice on what to do, it's when they give me advice on what I can't do, right?
Yeah.
You tell me I can't do something, That's all the fuel I need.
For
Right?
sure.
So I had a coach one time tell me, he's like, hey, listen, I'm not a micromanager, right? I'm not. I manage a group of people who are highly competitive people, good people, solid people. I don't have to micromanage them, right?
Yeah.
That's not in my personality profile. A lot of team leaders are very micromanager driven, right? They're checking everything every day, all the time.
For sure.
Not my style.
Yep.
And he said, you know what? You cannot get your team where you want to go with your style, right? You've got to become more of a micromanager.
Yeah.
At the time, we were doing maybe 125, 150 deals a year.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I'm just not going to subscribe to that. I'm not going to subscribe to the narrative. I refuse to subscribe to somebody else's norm,
Yeah.
right? Because I can, and we did, and we still do. So I think anytime I hear somebody wanting me to subscribe to the norm,
Yeah.
it's like a repellent, right?
For sure.
It's, okay, because that's not the way to lead, isn't by doing the norm, right? The way to evolve isn't by doing the norm. The way to evolve and lead and get bigger and better and greater is to go against the norm. So I think a lot of times that's probably the biggest lesson for me in my career is, don't be afraid to go against the norm.
Well, exactly that. I mean, you can't fit in and also be extremely successful. That those two aren't the same. The people that fit in just fit in, and the ones who are extremely successful do something different than the ones who are fitting in, and that's the only way to get there.
Yeah. And success on my terms is more important than success, right?
Yep.
I want it to be on my terms because that's the guy I am. I mean, right or wrong, good or bad, dude. So, I'd rather forge forward. Now I've got a 20-year-old son and he's exactly the same and he drives me crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, listen to me. He's like, dude, I'm not listening to you, right? I'll do it my way. I'm like, okay, I get that, right?
My God, I've got a 13-year-old who's like that.
Yeah, it doesn't get better, man.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm
doesn't
afraid
get
of.
better.
Yeah.
So that's probably that and systems, right? If there was one other thing about in my business is systemization of my business down to everything. You can remove so much hassle and heartache from your business by systemizing. It's insane. It's insane.
Take the brain work out of it, and just when something happens, is cause reaction every time. When something happens, I know that this is what I do next. Yeah. There's a system in place.
Well, the beautiful thing about it is once this happens, you set a system in place so it doesn't happen anymore.
Yep.
Right? So the system now fixes the problem before the problem ever shows up.
For sure.
Right? And it's just, once you get the mindset of that, which goes back to the expectation selling.
Yep. It's
unbelievable how much stuff you can eliminate. And the clients are like, this is amazing. I love them. Right? I may not touch them, but my system will touch them and they feel like they've been touched and handheld all the way through the system.
Well, that's just it. Your clients feel like they're getting this insanely tailored hand quality, this crafted experience, and you're actually doing less.
Way less.
Yeah.
That's how you do 159 listing sides in a year and still coach football, still go to every swim meet, every swim practice, every football game, every football practice. You know what I mean?
For sure.
That's how you do that, right? And not have, 47 bad reviews on Zillow or Google.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So those are the things that have been the most important in my career for sure.
Dave, I appreciate you sharing that, man. If I'm listening in at home, I'm in the office, I'm at the gym, stuck in traffic. If I wanted to learn more about you and the Kimbrough team, where would be the best way for people to connect with you?
Just go to thekimbroughsteam.com. We can go to any of our social media channels also. Chelsea's got a good handle on those. And also, if you're interested in some of the systemization and some of the setting expectation, you can go to expectationselling.com. And we'll be launching that in January.
I'll make sure I have those links in the description when this launches. Kimbrough.com. And then say that again, expectations?
Yeah, it's thekimbroughsteam.com.
Okay.
And expectationselling.com.
Fantastic. That'll be in the description. Dave, thanks again for joining us today for another extremely impactful show. Again, I'm your host, Trevor Bigg. Tune in next time for another exciting episode focused on delivering actionable advice delivered straight from the industry's top 1%.
Thanks for tuning in to Collaborate. where we're not just talking about success, we're building it. If you found value in today's episode, make sure to subscribe and never miss out on the insights that could take your real estate career to the next level. And remember, this is a space for the elite. If you're ready to level up and become part of a global network of top performing agents, join us at the Global Group for exclusive tools, resources, and opportunities to collaborate with the best in the business. I'm Trevor Bigg, and remember, if you haven't been invited to this show yet, you need to grind harder, hustle smarter, and get those numbers up, because this is a space reserved for the elite.